I'm here with Paul Fabritz. Paul, also known as PJF Performance, right? Yep. So, Paul, you are one of the top performance coaches, specifically in basketball in all the world. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to know how you got to that place. Did you start as a player? Did you start in the fitness space? Kind of tell us a little bit about that journey to how you got to training some of the best athletes in the world.
Yeah, so I mean, I grew up as a basketball player, and like a lot of basketball players, they don't have the genetics to be 7 foot. So I'm 5'11", and so I had the skill. I grew up with a ball in my hands, so I could dribble, I could pass, I could shoot, but I just didn't have the physical components. I wasn't athletic. I couldn't jump high. I couldn't run fast. And so through the recruiting process in high school, coaches would bring me in, and they would all tell me the same thing. We love you, but we just don't know if you can hang physically at the Division I level. And so I became obsessed with strength and conditioning and just learning how to improve myself so that I could get there. And I went to junior college and I played there, had a lot of injuries, and I took a year off and kind of took a step back and really learned how to train. I was getting certifications. I was studying stuff from like the 1950s in Russia, like Verkhoshansky, like the kind of the founder of plyometrics, and really learning how to train the body the right way instead of just doing like one thing like powerlifting or just doing weightlifting. Really have the perfect storm of all these different methodologies, from lifting to plyometrics to even yoga and Pilates, and stealing all these different principles from these different practices. And so I applied it to myself, and in that year off, I gained 12 inches on my vertical.
Wow.
And so the same coaches that were saying that I wasn't athletic enough were now saying that I made the biggest transformation they've ever seen. And so I made it back. I played at Northern Arizona, which is in my hometown, Flagstaff, Arizona. And I had some injuries there. I didn't really get to play. And going back for my senior year, I had to make a decision: either keep going with my original goal of playing college and then going and trying to play pro, or I could take what I've built and I could help other athletes with it. And so I decided to go with that option. I figured what I did was pretty special, and I would love to help some other athletes transform their athleticism. And so I kind of just took it to the community, and I just trained kids at parks and just trained them for free, and they got good results, and it started to spread all the way around Arizona, and my name started to become known. Moved to Tempe, opened up this little garage gym that didn't even look like it should be a gym. It's just like this little shed, basically, and trained out of there every day and just provided value on social media. And my social media started to blow up, thousands of followers every day, just because I was providing a lot of value. And from there, NBA players started finding me. And we got one NBA player to come in, and he gained 7 inches on his vertical. He was coming off of a hip surgery, and he made it back to the NBA, and then word of mouth kicked in, and it started to spread, and then it just kept going, and then I got players like James Harden, and so now last year he's the MVP. And so I feel like we have very little to do with it because they're the ones grinding and putting in the work, but as a trainer, that kind of stuff, that word of mouth and just getting guys real results has helped me blow up to where I'm at now.
Absolutely. And can you speak to that a little bit more about like being somebody who gets to witness James Harden on a fairly regular basis, one of the best basketball players we've ever seen as a scorer? What does he do differently that sets him apart from, everybody else at that already elite level?
Well, mentally, he's very different than your normal athlete. So the best players are motivated by legacy. They're not motivated by happiness. When you're motivated by happiness, you made it to the NBA. You're making money. We're here. What else is there to push for? Or like he got the sixth man. Most people would consider that such a huge achievement. They'd be happy. If you're satisfied by happiness, you're done. Mm-hmm. But he's more satisfied. He's more motivated by legacy. And so when you're motivated by legacy, there's always a next step. And so when you look at being the first person ever to be a sixth man and then become the MVP, you've got to be motivated by something else other than just happiness. And so I think he's motivated by some different stuff than most players, and he's just a grinder. Like, he lives his life and he has fun, but like, he works out every day and he grinds. He goes hard in the weight room. He goes hard in his skills training. He takes care of his body. And so he's built a little bit different than most of the other NBA players.
For sure. And speaking of taking care of your body, like, I originally found you on YouTube when I was playing basketball in high school. And I watched your Eurostep video that you did on the blacktop.
That was like my first video ever.
Yeah,
probably.
and I went out there.
That's a throwback.
I propped my phone up against the hoop, took the ball. I obviously was trying to do my best to emulate it, and my phone kept falling. It was frustrating. But, you know, being at that age where you're very impressionable and you're trying to get the habits down, I think a lot gets missed by youth athletes in terms of what's required outside of the gym or even outside of the weight room to be successful. Are there things that you practice with your NBA guys or even with your college guys in terms of nutrition, sleep, and stress management that you think younger athletes could take with them and apply to get results like right away?
Yeah. I mean, as a trainer, you realize that you have to almost become like a life coach. You got to figure out how can we help these guys get happy? How can they live a healthy life outside of the gym so that we can get results in the gym? And so some of the basic stuff is like, if you're not getting 8+ hours of sleep, let's start there, right? There's no point in going and doing like recovery boots and massage and doing all this different stuff if you're not sleeping the right way. And so just basic stuff, like if you're not sleeping well enough, you know, put the phone away 30 minutes before bed, make your room a little cooler, make your room a little darker. You know, people don't think of like, if I get better at sleeping, my nervous system is going to be in a better place. I'm going to be able to get better results in the gym. And so it starts with the little habits like that, eating the right way. Basketball players, I mean, even NBA players at the highest level, their diets aren't great. You know, there's still guys that are at the highest level that are just eating microwave pizzas. And it's like, if you can get your protein where we need it, let's say you get to 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. That's a game changer right there. All of a sudden, guys are starting to see their lower abs for the first time in a couple of years. They're gaining some muscle, some functional muscle. They're getting more explosive, right? Just by substituting, you know, that pizza for having salmon and broccoli and a sweet potato. So there's really, really small things. You don't have to go too deep into the science. You just got to look at it and say, okay, what am I doing wrong? And just replace it with some decent practical strategies. And you can really take not only your game to the next level, but just how you feel as a person and your productivity to the next level. Yeah.
And would you say there's a connection between body composition and performance to a degree, especially in basketball?
Absolutely. I mean, fat don't fly. So that's what I tell all of our clients up front is before we get fancy, just realize that we got to get you lean. Like you should be under 10% body fat. If we want to really reach your genetic potential, under 10%. But elite body and health are on different ends of the spectrum.
Very true.
And so there's maybe you're like a naturally 15, 20%, right? And we diet you down to get down to 8%. That's a pretty big difference from where your body naturally wants to be. And so to maintain that, you got to be at a caloric deficit for a long time. And so it could take a toll on your health long term. And so sometimes people get super lean and then they're getting in and every month they're getting sick because their immune system is compromised because they're trying to keep up this crazy lifestyle or this crazy diet. So it's finding that balance of how can I get elite performance, but also have enough body fat to where I'm healthy, I'm energized, I'm not moody. So sometimes we might have somebody that could gain an extra inch on the vertical if we diet a little bit more and get them a little more lean, but if it compromises their health, we're not going to do it.
Of course.
So I'll let them know, look, we're going to jump an inch less, but an inch lower, but you're going to be healthier and you're going to be able to play 82 games this year. And that, at the end of the day, is what matters the most. So for like any kid, watching this, I think the thing is finding that perfect balance of where do you perform the best, but also where do you feel the best? Where do you feel energized? Where do you feel healthy?
For sure. And you said the phrase genetic potential a few times, and I think it really speaks because you're working with the absolute best. But have you come across guys that maybe the genetic potential is there, but the headspace isn't quite there? They maybe don't have that. They don't have what's needed to really maximize their potential.
100%. So, I mean, there's a lot of directions you can go when you talk about the mindset, but I'll give you an example of mindset in the gym. A lot of times we have this mindset of our genetics are maxed out, right? And I have the same conversation. Anytime I sense that somebody, it feels like they're maxed out genetically, I have the same conversation. I bring up the concept of superhuman strength, right? We hear these cases of like a kid is stuck under a car and the dad goes out and picks up the car for a brief moment to get the kid out. And there probably everybody listening has had maybe not something that dramatic, but something where their adrenaline kicked in and they perform something superhuman that they normally couldn't perform, right? So if you're capable as a human of lifting a car, we can do that, right? Like that's what we're capable of. Our brain just can't override our they're called Golgi tendon organs, which shuts down everything as a protective mechanism. So we're capable of doing way more than humans see on a day-to-day basis, right? So in the gym, it's like, can we get you to really get max intent and go all out and build up that adrenaline and get to that next level? You're not going to get that level of adrenaline of lifting a car, but can we get you to override those Golgi tendon organs by 1%?
Yeah.
We unlock something, we unlock more performance, and then the next time, 1%. And so you keep on making improvements like that. And then once you have that conversation, the mindset starts to shift and they realize, I am capable of a lot more. Yeah. It's just my brain isn't allowing my body to get there.